If you own an apartment or a condo in Malaysia, or you're even thinking about it, there's one term you absolutely have to know: strata title. So today, we're going to break down exactly what it is, how it all works, and most importantly, why it matters so much to you as a homeowner. Let's just kick things off with a pretty wild statistic. About 90% of new strata properties in Malaysia are actually managed by a temporary group called a Joint Management Body, or JMB. That means only a tiny fraction, just 10%, have actually made it to the permanent owner-run management corporation. What that number really tells us is that a huge number of homeowners are living in a system they might not fully get. It's this whole world of shared ownership, and it comes with its own unique set of rules, rights, and, of course, challenges. So let's unpack what that really means. All right, first things first. Let's get into the big idea. What exactly is a strata title? Okay, so property ownership in Malaysia basically comes in two flavors. You've got the individual title, which is pretty straightforward. You own the house and the land it sits on. Simple. But with a strata title, it's a bit different. You own your private space, your apartment or parcel, but you also share ownership of all the common areas with every other owner in the building. And that's where this idea of common property comes in. Just think of it as everything that isn't inside someone's front door. We're talking about the pool, the gym, the elevators, the hallways, even the really crucial stuff like the main water pipes and electrical wiring that keeps the whole place running. So when you buy a strata property, you're not just buying one thing. You're actually getting a three-part package. First, you get your individual parcel, which is your home. Second, you get a share in all that common property we just talked about. And third, you get what's called an accessory parcel. Think of your designated parking spot. It's for your use and your use only. Okay, so we know what it is. Now let's talk about the rules of the game. What are the laws that actually govern this whole system? Really, there are two major laws you need to know about. The whole thing started back in 1985 with the Strata Titles Act, which set up the legal framework. Then, in 2013, the Strata Management Act came along to streamline the rules for how these places are actually run day to day. And it's still evolving. Right now, there are talks about updating the law for things like virtual meetings and e-voting. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused. Who's actually in charge? Well, when a building is brand new, you get a joint management body, the JMB. It's a temporary team made up of the developer and the new owners. But once the official strata titles are issued, that's when a permanent management corporation, or MC, takes over. The MC is made up entirely of owners, and it holds all the legal power. You know that 2013 law also brought in a real game-changing rule. Before, you could move into your new place and then wait years, sometimes many years, for your title. The new law says developers have to get the strata titles ready at the same time they hand over the keys. It was designed to speed everything up and protect buyers. So if you're a strata owner, what does all this mean for you? What's your actual role in this whole system? As an owner, you're not just some passive resident. You've got real power. You have the right to vote on big decisions at general meetings. You can look at the financial books to see exactly where your money is going. You can even challenge the fees if you think they're unfair. And every year, you're entitled to a full financial report. But on the flip side of those rights are your responsibilities. You've got two main financial duties. First, the monthly maintenance fees. That's for the daily stuff, like paying the security guards, cleaning, and gardening. And second, there's the sinking fund. This is like a big savings account for the building, set aside for major future expenses, like repainting the whole facade or replacing a broken elevator. And you really don't want to mess around with these payments. The law gives the management body some serious teeth. If you don't pay up, they can slap you with up to 10% annual interest, they can stop you from voting at meetings, and they can even block your access cards so you can't use the pool or the gym. Okay, so that's all the theory. But now, let's get into the reality check. The common problems that owners actually run into. So even with all these laws in place, one of the biggest, most damaging problems is the insane delay in getting the actual strata title. It's pretty shocking, but it's true. Some owners have been stuck in a legal limbo for 20 years, unable to officially prove they own their home, which makes it nearly impossible to sell or even pass on. And this isn't just a few isolated cases. A 2024 Auditor General's report found that in the federal territories alone, 419 developments were still waiting for their titles to be issued, long after people had already moved in. That's a huge number of owners who don't have their full legal rights. And beyond those big title delays, the day-to-day can get pretty tricky too. The classic conflicts, arguments over how much the maintenance costs and whether the work is any good, a feeling that the management isn't being transparent with the finances, disagreements over how the pool or BBQ pits should be used, and just general frustration when nobody seems to be communicating. But look, it's not all bad news. The good news is, if you run into these problems, you do have a toolkit for action. You're not powerless. Your single most powerful tool is the Strata Management Tribunal, or SMT. It was created specifically to be a fast, cheap, and easy alternative to going to court. You can bring claims for up to 250,000 ringgit. And here's the best part. You don't even need to hire a lawyer. That just removes a massive barrier for so many people. And the process itself is designed to be really simple. Basically, you file a claim, the other side gets a chance to respond, you both show up for a hearing to tell your side of the story, and then the tribunal makes a decision that's legally binding. It's meant to be way less intimidating than a traditional courtroom. But remember, the tribunal isn't your only move. Before you go the formal route, mediation can be a fantastic first step. It's a totally voluntary process where a neutral person helps you and the other side find a solution you can both live with. It can often save a lot of time, money, and maybe even a few neighborly relationships. At the end of the day, strata living is this fascinating mix of having your own private space and being part of a larger community. Knowing the rules, understanding your rights, and having the tools to solve problems when they pop up, that's the key to making it work. So the real question isn't just whether you're ready for strata living, but what kind of owner and what kind of neighbor you're going to choose to be.